Welcome to our ihya ulum series and our exploration into the profound philosophical and mystical insights of Al-Ghazali, focusing on the fourth quarter of his monumental work, The Revival of the Religious Sciences, or Ihya Ulumuddin. In this quarter, we will explore the interplay between Sufism and philosophy as Al-Ghazali navigates the stages of the Sufi path, while also drawing upon philosophical concepts to illuminate the ultimate goal of understanding and experiencing God's unity. In the fourth quarter, while the virtues are influenced by Sufism, there are also important passages inspired by philosophy as well. In the first 7 books of this quarter, Al-Ghazali discusses the stages of the Sufi path, but also the philosophy leaves its marks. The ultimate goal of ascending to God for Al-Ghazali is the love of God, but this isn't seen as purely emotional, instead seen as the expression of understanding God. While mystical inspiration plays a role in reaching the highest level of knowledge of God, Al-Ghazali advises those most likely to succeed to the first prepare through the rational investigation before pursuing the mystical insights. According to Al-Ghazali, the highest form of knowledge of God is realizing His absolute unity, which he sees in terms of monism, the belief that everything ultimately exists as one reality. For him, only God truly exists, while everything else existence depends on other causes and ultimately on God. The discussion of God's unity in book 35 of the Revival of the Religious Sciences, titled Professing God's Oneness and Relying on God, is particularly significant. It contains passages that stirred controversy in the later centuries, especially in a dispute of Al-Ghazali faced in 1106 when he returned to teaching in Nishapur. He responded to this dispute in his work, The Composition on the Problems of the Revival, Al-Imla fi Ishkalat al-Ihya. Al-Ghazali believes that the highest level of understanding about God is to recognize His complete unity and that everything exists within Him. Believing in this unity is a key part of Islam, expressed in the declaration that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is the messenger of God. La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. However, not all the beliefs are equally valuable. Al-Ghazali suggests there are 4 levels of understanding God's unity, with the deepest level being the ultimate goal for those seeking happiness in the afterlife. He compares these levels to the layers of the walnut. The outer shell represents merely saying the declaration without really believing in it, and this may protect someone from punishment in this life, but won't benefit them in the afterlife. Second, the inner shell is believing in the declaration but not letting that belief deeply affect the heart, and this may lead to the salvation but not the true happiness. And this level is where common Muslims are. Their beliefs in God, in God's unity, can be challenged by cradle innovation or bid'ah that weaken their faith, and that is why theology kalam exists to protect their simple belief. So the theologians help maintain the basic belief of the common people without necessarily having a deeper understanding of themselves. The next level is for those close to God, muqarrab, who understand that all things come from one source, and this is like reaching the nut itself. And the highest level is for the righteous, Siddiq, who experience the unity of God so deeply that they lose awareness of themselves, and this is like extracting the oil from the walnut. Al-Ghazali explains that Sufis call this highest level annihilation in the divine unity, al-fana fi tawheed. These 2 highest levels offer profound insights into the true nature of God and are what bring true happiness in the afterlife. Al-Ghazali in this way aims to downplay worldly science like kalam theology, so the science of the hereafter can take their place, similar to how Al-Ghazali demotes the law. The main goal is to highlight the highest knowledge of God, which is the ultimate aim for those on the spiritual path, or in terms of the Sufism called salik. This knowledge forms the basis of the happiness of the afterlife and distinguishes the highest earthly insights into the divine reality in Al-Ghazali's view. Al-Ghazali compares the different levels of understanding: philosophical insights versus the mystical insights, and the elite versus the elite of the elite. Each level has its own benefits, but is inferior to the one above it. True perfection is achieved at the fourth level, where one loses the consciousness of the self in the divine unity. However, the reliance on God, Tawakkul discusses in the book 35, is based on the third level, because the complete immersion in the God's unity can't be sustained in this life. This ultimate state of the divine consciousness and the happiness it brings will only endure in the afterlife. Relying on God in worldly matters requires awareness of those matters, not complete absorption in the God. Al-Ghazali adopted the four levels of understanding God's oneness from Junaid, a key Sufi figure. However, the substance of this level is influenced by more by philosophy. Alexander Trigger analyzed Al-Ghazali's work, particularly the Niche of Light, Mishkatul Anwar, and found that the third level is a rational understanding of God's unity, while the fourth is an experiential realization through Sufi practice, which is more vivid. Without prior rational investigation, this experience might be misunderstood as an actual union with God. Proper understanding requires combining Sufi practice with philosophical training. And Trigger also noted that Al-Ghazali's concept of the God's unity is influenced by Ibn Sina's idea of God as the necessary existence, a being that exists by its own nature, unlike the other entities which depends on external causes and ultimately on God. Al-Ghazali presents a monistic view where only God truly exists, while everything else has contingent existence. And this idea, central to Al-Ghazali's system, contrasts with the Ibn Sina, who didn't fully explore its monistic implication. Al-Ghazali explains how a human action is as the expression of God's will, using an allegory to illustrate this. This explanation aligns with the third level of understanding divine unity, but applies to the fourth level as well. The difference between these levels is in perception, not substance. While theoretical knowledge of God's relationship with creation cannot be communicated direct, all-encompassing apprehensions cannot. The allegory reflects the philosophical cosmology, where everything is in physical world originates from God and is mediated through celestial sphere, ultimately influencing the human rational soul. In this parable, a salik, a traveler, sees a paper blackened by ink and asks why it happened. The paper blames the ink, which in turn blames the pen. The pen points to the hand to the power, Qudra, that moves it, and the power blames the will that directed it. The will points to the knowledge, the intellect, and the heart. The intellect says it's just a lamp that doesn't light itself, and the heart claims it is just a slate that is unfurled by something else. Knowledge says it's simply engraved on the heart when the intellect shines, and this engraving was done by a pen. This parable illustrates how human actions results from a chain of causes, starting with the immaterial human soul, the heart, which holds the intellect. Knowledge inscribed in the heart forms the will to act. The soul isn't an autonomous initiator of the actions. Instead, it follows the knowledge inscribed by an immaterial pen, a metaphor Al-Ghazali uses for the active intellect inspired by Ibn Sina. The traveler is confused and feels his inquiry is unresolved. Knowledge warns him, but the next step involves journeying through three worlds: the world of dominion and witnessing, alamul mulk wa shahada, the world of sovereignty, alamul malakut, and the world of compulsion, alamul jabarut, which acts as a bridge. The traveler has already experienced the world of dominion, represented by the paper, ink, pen, and hand, the physical world. He has also begun the world of compulsion with the power, will, and knowledge. The world of sovereignty starts with the divine pen that inscribes knowledge in the heart, the center of understanding in Al-Ghazali system. The world of dominion is the physical realm. The world of sovereignty is the realm of intelligible and celestial sphere, and the world of compulsion is the human soul, and an immaterial entity within a material body. The world of sovereignty is dangerous. To begin traversing it, the traveler must seek a vision of divine pen and the active intellect. Initially, he looks for a physical pen, but knowledge advises him to seek it through the intellect's vision, basira, not the eye or basar. The divine pen and hand are unlike anything physical. The traveler or the salik in a scare place like Moses at the burning bush should listen for the revelation with its heart and seeks guidance from the divine fire. By rejecting any physical attributes or tanzih or transcendence, and not imagining the divine pen as earthly tasbih or immanence, the traveler finally sees the divine pen which continually writes knowledge on human hearts, awakening a will and power to act. The divine pen, like the earthly one, denies having independent will and points the traveler to the right hand that holds it. This begins a journey through intelligible entities corresponding to those in the worlds of dominion and compulsion. The hand, unlike any other hands, refers to the travelers of the saliks to the power qudra that moves it. The power describes itself as merely an attribute and points to the possessor of the power, qadir. At this stage, the traveler reaches the end of his quest and hears a divine voice saying he will not be questioned about what he does, but they will be questioned. Overwhelmed, the traveler is asked to know and praise God. He is told to be content with what he has and not to seek more, as full understanding and perceiving the divine beauty and majesty is beyond human capacity. The inability to attain full knowledge itself is a form of knowledge. The traveler returns apologizing to the agents he met for not understanding their roles. He learns that God is the first and the last, the source of ultimate destination for all the seekers. This realization, Al-Ghazali explains, represents the third level of understanding divine unity, where everything is seen as an emanating from the one true agent, and that is God. This allegory illustrates an emanation or emanationist cosmology where everything owes its existence to God, the only true and autonomous being. It also shows the journey back to God by transcending the physical world to intelligible forms perceived by the intellect, with the physical world being an imperfect reflection. Al-Ghazali concludes by discussing the implications of this cosmology, that only God is the true actor and all the events, good or bad, originates from him. He addresses the resulting moral question through theodicy, asserting that the world as it exists is the best and the most perfect possible. This philosophical perspective later sparked the controversy and criticism when Al-Ghazali resumed the teaching in Nishapur. As we conclude here, friends, the first episode of the fourth quarter of the revival of the religious sciences, or ihya ulum, we have encountered the rich heritage of the philosophical and mystical thought produced by Imam Al-Ghazali. Through his exploration of the stages of the Sufi path and the profound insights to God's unity, Al-Ghazali invites us to contemplate the deepest mysteries of the existence and the nature of the reality. So join us in the next episode as we continue to unravel the layers of wisdom within Al-Ghazali's teaching. Thanks for watching.